My name is Lily, and I'm 7 years old today, but this isn't going to be the story about a happy birthday party. This is going to be the story about the day I found out that everything I thought I knew about my family was a big lie. It started this morning when I woke up all excited because it was my birthday and I was finally going to be 7, which feels like such a big number. I put on my favorite purple dress with the sparkly butterflies and ran downstairs expecting to see presents wrapped in pretty paper and maybe balloons tied to my chair like last year. But instead, I found Daddy sitting at the kitchen table with his head in his hands, and Mommy standing by the window looking really sad. There weren't any decorations anywhere, and the only thing on the table was a big brown envelope that looked very serious and grown up. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Mommy said, but her voice sounded like she was trying not to cry. "Where are my presents?" I asked, looking around the kitchen. "Is Grandma Ruth coming over with my special gift like always?" Daddy looked up at me, and his eyes were red like he'd been crying too. "Lily, honey, sit down. We need to talk to you about something very important." I sat down in my chair, swinging my legs because they don't reach the floor yet. My stomach started feeling funny. Like when you're on a swing and it goes too high. "Is Grandma Ruth sick?" I asked, because I couldn't think of any other reason why she wouldn't come for my birthday. Grandma Ruth always comes for my birthday. She always brings me the most beautiful presents. Last year, it was a dollhouse with tiny furniture. And the year before that, it was a bike with pink ribbons on the handlebars. "No, sweetheart," Daddy said. "Grandma Ruth isn't sick, but she won't be coming to your birthday anymore." "Why not?" I felt tears starting in my eyes. Did I do something bad? "Oh no, honey." Mommy came over and hugged me tight. "You didn't do anything wrong. You're perfect just the way you are." "Then why can't Grandma Ruth come?" "She promised she would always come to my birthdays." Daddy picked up the brown envelope and held it in his hands like it was very heavy. "Lily, there are some things we need to tell you, and they're going to be hard to understand. But you're 7 now, and you're a big girl, so we think you're old enough to know the truth." I wiped my nose with my sleeve. "What truth?" Mommy sat down next to me and took my hands in hers. "Sweetheart, do you remember how sometimes kids at school talk about being adopted?" I nodded, like Tommy Martinez. He says his birth mommy couldn't take care of him, so his new mommy and daddy chose him special. "That's right," Mommy said softly. "Well, Lily, you're adopted too. Daddy and I aren't your birth parents, but we are your real parents because we love you and chose you and have taken care of you since you were a tiny baby." I stared at her, trying to understand what she was saying. But you're my mommy. You've always been my mommy." "I am your mommy," she said quickly. "I'll always be your mommy. Being adopted doesn't change that. It just means that before you came to live with us, you lived in your birth mommy's tummy. But she couldn't take care of you, so she made the very hard decision to let us be your parents instead." My head felt all confused and spinny. "But why didn't you tell me before?" Tommy's parents told him when he was little. Daddy's face looked angry, but not at me. "Because someone told us not to tell you. Someone said it would be better if you never knew." "Who?" "Grandma Ruth." I felt like someone had poured cold water over my whole body. "Grandma Ruth said not to tell me?" "Yes, honey. And that's not the only thing Grandma Ruth has been lying about." Daddy opened the brown envelope and pulled out lots of papers with numbers and words I couldn't read. "Lily, you know how Grandma Ruth always has lots of money to buy you expensive presents and take us on fancy trips?" I nodded. Grandma Ruth was always buying me things, not just for my birthday, but all the time. Pretty dresses and toys and books. She took us to Disney World last year and to the beach house every summer. Well, it turns out that money wasn't really hers to spend. "What do you mean?" Mommy looked at Daddy and they had one of those grown-up looks that means they're not sure how to explain something to a kid. "Grandma Ruth works at a big company, right?" Daddy said. "Yeah, she has an important job in an office with a big desk. Well, she was supposed to take care of the company's money and make sure it was spent on the right things. But instead, she was taking some of that money and using it for herself. She was using it to buy you presents and pay for our trips and lots of other things. I thought about this for a minute. Like stealing? Yes, sweetheart. Like stealing, but from her work instead of from a store. But stealing is wrong? I said, because that's one of the first things you learn when you're little. Didn't she know it was wrong? She knew, Daddy said, and his voice sounded really sad and angry at the same time. She knew it was wrong, but she did it anyway. For years and years. How many years? Since before you came to live with us. Almost 8 years. I tried to do the math in my head, but 8 years seemed like forever. That's my whole life. That's right, honey. She's been stealing money your whole life and using it to buy love and keep secrets. I didn't understand what he meant about buying love, so I asked. Mommy explained. Grandma Ruth thought that if she bought you lots of expensive presents and paid for fun trips, you would love her more and wouldn't ask questions about your adoption or anything else. She thought she could use money to make us keep the secret about you being adopted. But I would have loved her anyway, I said, feeling confused. She's my grandma. Why did she need to steal money? We don't know, sweetheart, Daddy said. Sometimes grown-ups make really bad choices, even when they know better. I looked at all the papers spread out on the table. They had Grandma Ruth's name on them and lots of big numbers. What's going to happen to her? Daddy sighed. She's going to have to go to jail, Lily. The police came and arrested her yesterday. Jail? My voice came out all squeaky, like where bad guys go. Yes, honey. When people steal money, especially lots of money over a long time, they have to go to jail as punishment. I started crying then, not just little tears, but big, sobbing tears that made my whole body shake. Everything I thought I knew was wrong. I wasn't really Mommy and Daddy's daughter. I was adopted. Grandma Ruth wasn't the nice grandma who loved me. She was a thief who lied to everyone. And now she was in jail like a criminal. I don't understand, I cried. Why did she lie about me being adopted? Why is that a secret? Mommy pulled me onto her lap and rocked me like she used to when I was really little. Some people think adoption is something to be ashamed of, but it's not. Being adopted makes you extra special because it means you were chosen. Your birth mommy loved you so much that she wanted you to have the best life possible. And Daddy and I loved you so much that we couldn't wait to make you our daughter. But Grandma Ruth didn't want me to know that? Grandma Ruth has some old-fashioned ideas about families, Daddy said carefully. She thought it would be better if you grew up thinking you were born to us. She said people might treat you differently if they knew you were adopted. Would they? I asked, wiping my snotty nose on Mommy's shirt. Some ignorant people might, Mommy said. But most people understand that adopted children are just as loved and wanted as any other children. Look at Tommy Martinez. Does anyone at school treat him badly because he's adopted? I thought about Tommy. He was one of the popular kids and everyone liked him. No, they don't care. Exactly. Being adopted isn't something to hide or be ashamed of. I sat there thinking for a while, still sniffling. So all those presents Grandma Ruth gave me, they were bought with stolen money? Yes, sweetheart. That means I have stolen things in my room? Daddy looked sad. Technically, yes. But you didn't know they were bought with stolen money, so you didn't do anything wrong. But I can't keep them, right? Because they're stolen? Mommy and Daddy looked at each other again. What do you think we should do? Mommy asked. I thought really hard about this. I loved my dollhouse and my bike and all my other toys from Grandma Ruth. But I also knew that keeping stolen things was wrong, even if someone gave them to you as presents. We should give them back, I said finally, or give them to kids who don't have toys, since we can't give them back to the company. Daddy smiled for the first time all morning. That's very mature of you, Lily. We're proud of you for thinking about what's right. But what about my birthday? I asked, because even though I was trying to be good about everything, I was still sad that my birthday was ruined. We'll still celebrate your birthday, Mommy said. We'll have cake and sing songs. And when we have some money saved up, we'll get you a present that's bought with honest money. Can I ask you something else? Of course, honey. Am I going to see Grandma Ruth again? Daddy picked up one of the papers from the envelope. The judge said she has to stay in jail for 3 years. That's a long time. You'll be 10 years old when she gets out. Will she still be my grandma when she gets out? That was a hard question, and I could see Mommy and Daddy didn't know how to answer it. She'll always be related to us? Mommy said slowly. But whether she gets to be part of our family again depends on a lot of things. She would have to show that she's really sorry for what she did, and that she's changed, and that she won't lie to us anymore. I'm angry at her, I said. She lied about me being adopted, and she stole money, and she ruined my birthday. It's okay to be angry, Daddy said. We're angry too. But I'm also sad because I loved her, and now I don't know if I should love her anymore. Mommy hugged me tighter. You can love someone and still be angry at them for doing wrong things. Love is complicated like that. We sat there for a while, and I tried to think about everything I'd learned. I was adopted, which meant somewhere out there was a birth mommy who had carried me in her tummy, but couldn't take care of me. I was 7 years old, which I'd been excited about this morning, but now it felt different somehow. And Grandma Ruth was in jail for stealing money for 3 whole years. Mommy? I said, can you tell me about my birth mommy? What would you like to know? Was she nice? Why couldn't she keep me? Does she ever think about me? Mommy smiled, and it was a real smile this time, not a sad one. She was very young when you were born, only 17. She was still in high school, and her family couldn't help her take care of a baby. But she was brave and smart, and she spent a long time looking for the perfect family to adopt you. She picked you. She picked us. She met with lots of different families. But she said we were the right ones because we promised to love you and take care of you and always tell you the truth about where you came from. But we didn't tell me the truth, I pointed out. You're right, Daddy said. We broke our promise to her and to you because we listened to Grandma Ruth instead of doing what we knew was right. We're sorry about that. What's my birth mommy's name? Sarah, Mommy said. Sarah Chun. She's Chinese American, which is why you have such beautiful dark hair and eyes. I touched my hair. I'd always wondered why my hair was so much darker than Mommy's and Daddy's. Do I look like her? Very much. We have pictures if you'd like to see them someday. Yes, please. And Lily? If you ever want to meet her or write her a letter, we can help you do that. She told us she would always want to know how you're doing. I thought about that. It was scary to think about meeting someone who was my birth mommy, but also a stranger. But it was also exciting. Maybe when I'm older, I said. Whenever you're ready, sweetheart. I slid off Mommy's lap and looked at the papers scattered on the table. So Grandma Ruth stole all this money just to buy me things? Not just you, Daddy said. She was stealing money for herself too, for her fancy car and her big house and expensive clothes. But yes, some of it was spent on presents for you. That's stupid, I said, and then covered my mouth because we're not supposed to say stupid. But Mommy and Daddy didn't tell me not to say it. It was stupid, Daddy agreed. She thought money could fix everything and make everyone happy, but really, it just made everything worse. I would rather have a grandma who was honest than a grandma who bought me lots of presents with stolen money, I said. That's a very wise thing to say, Mommy said. Later that day, we did have a small birthday party. Just the 3 of us, with a cake that Mommy made and 7 candles for me to blow out. We didn't have any presents wrapped in pretty paper, but Mommy and Daddy gave me something better. They gave me the truth about who I am. They showed me pictures of my birth mommy, Sarah, and she was beautiful and looked just like me, but older. They told me more stories about when I was adopted and how excited they were to bring me home from the hospital. They explained how adoption works and why some people think it's wonderful and other people are ignorant about it. That night, as I was getting ready for bed, I looked around my room at all the toys and clothes that Grandma Ruth had bought with stolen money. Tomorrow, we were going to pack them up and donate them to children who needed toys. It made me sad to give away my dollhouse and my bike, but it also felt good to do the right thing. "Mommy?" I called as she tucked me in. "Yes, honey?" "Even though today was hard and sad, I'm glad you told me the truth." "I'm glad we told you to. We should have told you a long time ago. Will you promise never to lie to me again, even if someone tells you to?" "I promise, sweetheart. From now on, we'll always be honest with you, even when the truth is hard to hear." "Good, because I'm 7 now, and 7-year-olds can handle the truth." Mommy laughed and kissed my forehead. "Yes, they can. You're very brave, Lily." As I fell asleep that night, I thought about everything that had changed in just one day. I learned I was adopted, which was scary, but also kinda special. I learned that my grandma was a criminal, which was awful, but also meant I didn't have to feel guilty about not loving her anymore. And I learned that sometimes the truth hurts, but lies hurt worse. It wasn't the birthday I had expected, but maybe it was the birthday I needed. Because now I know who I really am, and I know that Mommy and Daddy love me enough to tell me the truth, even when it's hard. And someday, maybe I'll get to meet Sarah, my birth mommy, who chose the perfect family for me and gave me the greatest gift of all, parents who will always be honest with me, no matter what. Grandma Ruth will be in jail for 3 years, which seems like forever when you're 7. By the time she gets out, I'll be 10 and much wiser. Maybe by then I'll understand better why she did what she did. Or maybe I'll just understand that sometimes people make terrible choices and have to live with the consequences. But right now, all I know is that I'm Lily. I'm 7 years old. I'm adopted and proud of it. And I have parents who love me enough to tell me the truth. And that's enough for tonight.